Hello, beautiful people. Today's topic became very popular throughout the past few years over the TikTok, Instagram, therapy sessions, internet overall, and you probably saw a lot of podcasts, books, videos about boundaries. All of a sudden, all people learned about them. It's like they never existed. You know, like that meme. Boundaries were invented in 2020, and people before 2020, everyone was people pleasing, or what? Have you ever thought about this? Like, what were we doing before boundaries? Before we knew about them? Of course, there were a lot of people pleasers. Like, I was one of them. But there were also people that were okay saying no. Why did we learn about this so late in our life? Anyway, I'm very happy to learn about boundaries because when I was a kid, I was a people pleaser. And an interesting thing is that I never complain about being a people pleaser. It's not that I was okay with people pleasing. I mean, I didn't even know that was people pleasing. I was just kind and nice and always saying yes and always helping. Always the kind one, the nice one, the innocent, the pure one. I was like a sunshine in a human's form, and I never saw anyone more kind, more innocent, and more pure in my life ever. But that girl is gone. Real world said hello to me, and here I am. And people that got used to me saying yes to them, people that got used to me being always nice, being always kind, all of a sudden were like, oh my god, Marta, what happened with you? Like, you changed so much. You're not that kind anymore. You're not that kind girl anymore. And the point is that I am that kind girl. I'm just not nice anymore because I learned about boundaries. Game changer. And I'm very grateful that one day I discovered boundaries and I was like, oh, so saying no to people doesn't mean that I'm selfish. It's actually healthy and it's called boundaries. I'm talking here about boundaries balance, which I never saw anyone talk about this before. And that's the point. We always talk about lack of boundaries. And see, that's the point. We always talk about lack of boundaries. And when you lack boundaries, people will disrespect you. And when you don't have boundaries, you're not prioritizing yourself enough and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But we never talk about the situation when you have too much boundaries. And I even created a presentation to show it better because drawing with my hands in the air won't really help you. So for the presentation part, I'm even gonna move a little closer. So let's start. So imagine that this ball is you. And the lines are the boundaries that you have. When you have normal boundaries, here what you get. So you get a normal life with you in the center and other people. So you can see that this ball is not too big, it's not too small. So there is you and people that deserve to be in that circle. Like, you decide who you let into that circle and who stays outside. This is the lack of boundaries. And you can see that it's so big that some people are prioritized more. It's like an endless circle. Like, it has no limits. Let's be honest. It looks like a mess. Because when I look at it, I really don't know who exactly is in the center, who exactly is a priority. But now let's talk about something that no one talks about. When you have too many boundaries, it's not boundaries anymore. It's more like a limitations. It's more like limits that you set for yourself and you just live in a prison. Like, look at this ball. Like, you're the only one in that life because you have so many limits around you. So no one can reach out to you. No one can be in your life because you set it this way. And this is what you want. You want good people in your life, bad people out of your life, enough place for everyone, but you are the priority. Now, when you have boundaries with your goals, you're saying no to parties because your goal is to like work on your career. You say no to spending time in the evenings with your friends every single day because you're focusing on your studying. Those are your boundaries. You're focusing on yourself. You're saying no to some things. You're saying yes to other things. When you lack those boundaries, here what happens. Imagine like when you plan a goal, you want it to make as specific as it can be, and you want to have your plan as specific as it can be. You want to know exactly what you should do, so you don't jump around the place, so you don't have this question on your mind, what should I do today to reach my goal? No, you know exactly what you should do every single day. So you set those boundaries. I am gonna go to the gym every single day. I am gonna say no twice a week to focus on my studying. That is your boundary, and it shows you that, okay, I can get there. I'm getting there, and my boundaries help me with that. Now, when you don't have enough boundaries, that's what you get. You have a whole labyrinth and you don't know where to go and you don't know how to reach that goal. And in the end, you will end up in the middle of nowhere, like this bowl. And that's what happens when you have too much boundaries. You limit yourself so much that you finish at a dead end. And that's when you set unrealistic goals and you set unrealistic plan and you set unrealistic boundaries. You're gonna spend every single night studying for your classes and spend no time with your friends. Why? Why you should do this? Look for the balance. You're gonna miss every single party when you're young so you can build your dream life and you can party at 60. You can do both. It's not this or that. It's yes and the way you plan that, the way you balance everything, that's what matters. Okay, we're back to the normal place. So now you see what I mean when I say that the problem is not only the lack of boundaries, it also when you have too many boundaries at the same time. And you have to balance it somehow. You have to stay human, you have to be flexible, and you have to be very easy to adapt to everything that is going on around you. Because at one point, you can set so many boundaries to yourself because that's what you learn on the internet, that you will miss this switch from boundaries to limits. You will miss when you limit yourself, but you are thinking that you're actually doing this for your own good. The point is to distinguish when life throws at you something, you have to be like, okay, what is this? Is this something that if I will say no to my priorities, it will also help me? Or this is something that if I will say no to my priorities, this will kick me in the ass later. Some of your boundaries should be flexible. It's not that you're like, okay, I'm just respecting myself. If you're doing this every single day, then yeah, it's not a boundaries. You just said something, but your actions speak otherwise. But if this is once in a while, this is fine. Like, if you will miss the gym one day, you won't die. Everything's gonna be fine. Your boundaries should depend on your lifestyle, your values, your principles. Because if you're gonna listen to every single person that tells you what boundaries should you have, you're not gonna become them. But if those boundaries are not the one that represents you as a person, your true, authentic self, then you won't attract the right people. You may fuck up a lot of times with those boundaries. You may lose a lot of opportunities just because you have to think it through. What boundaries should I have? What values they represent? What principles they represent? You have to understand that boundaries should not be limits. Imagine like a very beautiful house. It shouldn't be a wall that people see a wall and they're like, okay, I don't know what is there because that's a wall. No, your boundary should be a gate. Like, they don't let other people in, but looking at them, they can see what is behind a very nice house. They can see that the gates are very beautiful and sometimes they open up. So yeah, think about boundaries as gates to a house. So people can see you through them, but they cannot get into unless they have a code. Do not make your boundaries your limits. Do not imprison yourself and live with so many things that you have to keep in your mind. What should you do and what you shouldn't do? So I read some chapters of Aristotle Nicomachean Ethics, and there was one thing that I loved about him talking. So there is nothing good or bad. It is good or bad to a certain extent, like whether you have it too much or whether you have it too little. For example, if you're not gonna drink water, you're gonna die. But if you're gonna drink a lot of water at the same time, you're gonna die. If you just eat food, you just eat food. But if you undereat food, you can die. If you overeat food, you can die. The same with boundaries. You have to find this golden mean when you don't like them because it's unhealthy, and when you had them too much because it's also unhealthy. Find this golden mean, find this balance. And to do this, just look at you. Who are you? Who are you? What values do you represent? What values do you want other people to see in you? What principles are you preaching? What dreams do you have? What goals do you have? You can show this by your boundary. Let's be honest. This world should be a kinder place to live in. And people with boundaries, they're awesome. I love them. People with healthy boundaries, I respect them so much. The way they set a tone, the way they express those boundaries to you, the way they are still human beings, they are still empathetic, they are still trying to help, and they are still sometimes willing to cross that boundary for you once in a while. Just because every situation is so different that it should depend on a context. What is going on? Why is it going on? What should happen? Because it's life. Life is unpredictable. You don't know what will happen, and you don't know what is gonna be the best for you all the time. And I respect them so much. But when a person doesn't know how to live this life, and when it throws them something and they don't expect it to happen, and they still think that that boundary will deal with another situation, they are so wrong. When you're going somewhere and you have a map, and all of a sudden this map is changed, you can't follow the same path of an old map just because you remember how to do this. No, you have to adapt. Okay, this is the map that I'm going right now. Later, I'm gonna go back on track. But right now, I'm gonna be flexible. I'm gonna adapt to everything. This is life. You have to live. You have to sometimes let it go. And I'm not saying that you have to give up on yourself and do not set boundaries at all. I don't say that you have to be okay with being flexible every single day with the same person. No. But if you're watching this video and if you already heard about boundaries, you're a pretty self-aware person. So you also have to be aware when the situation should have this balance, when the situation should be flexible, when that boundaries should loosen up a little bit. Your boundaries should be your friends. They shouldn't be your limits. So I hope you got something from here. I hope you will filter it through, get what will serve you, and leave behind what you think will not. Be open-minded. Look at every single point that is there and think, okay, do I value this? Will this serve me in my life with my goals and my values? Boundaries should be your friends. They should represent you and your values and your goals. They shouldn't limit you, and they shouldn't let other people to walk over you. Don't forget to be awesome. Bye.